I grew up with one parent who was a Catholic and one who had no faith at all. And so from the beginning, I was very aware of both outlooks, and most of the time going along to Mass was fine. But beyond that, faith didn't always mean much to me in any kind of day-to-day way. I didn't really know or understand how to try and pray in any meaningful sense. If I tried to read the Bible, I'd kind of lack conviction about persevering, and I'd just kind of get bored with it. And so the way I thought about the world and about myself wasn't really a Christian way of thinking at all. And so a few things happened that began to challenge me. I went away to Anglia Ruskin University, and I kind of signed up for the Christian Union because I kind of thought I probably should, but I never really had the interest to get involved or do anything. And there was a lot of hostility sometimes at uni towards faith, and religious beliefs sometimes felt like something that was a bit embarrassing, something I didn't really want to be lumbered with. But despite that, I'd started going to a church, an Anglican church, by virtue of the fact that it was the first church I found. And the teaching there slowly began to challenge me about the truth of salvation. And when I left and came back to Norwich, the vicar gave me as a parting gift a book called Ultimate Questions, which I read, and that challenged me a little bit more about the questions that really matter in life, about sin and redemption, and about who God is and about who we are. And I started doing a Bible study, which was a book called Read, Mark, Learn, a series of beginner studies in Mark's Gospel, a little bit like Discover or Christianity Explored. And at about the same time as I was doing this, a friend of mine who'd been going through some really difficult circumstances started sharing with me about the difference that coming to Christ had made in his life. And that began to really impact me as well, and to challenge me to really make a decision to take the gospel seriously and to say to God with an honest heart, show me that you truly are there for me, forgive my sin, help me to understand and to follow. And that was the beginning of the difference between faith just being this religious culture that I'd grown up with, and something that really defined how I thought about myself and thought about the world. And one of the first scriptures that really ministered to me was Psalm 73. And in that psalm, a psalmist who's been through some very difficult times comes to a realization about something, and he says, I went into the sanctuary of God. And in that place, he was reminded of truth. And in this time of pandemic, I think that God's been taking some people into his sanctuary, perhaps for the very first time, beginning to show them his truth. And for all of us in this time, I think it's a reminder that it's in that place of knowing God that we really find peace and reassurance and truth and self-knowledge and self-worth. And we know that we have a God who's with us now and throughout eternity.